Welcome to History in a Hurry. In this episode, we will cover the American Civil War. The American Civil War, fought between 1861 and 1865, remains one of the most defining events in United States history. It was a brutal conflict that pitted the northern states, the Union, against the southern states that had seceded to form the Confederate States of America. At its core, the war was driven by deep-seated divisions over slavery, states' rights, and the future direction of the nation. The roots of the Civil War lay in the institution of slavery, which had divided the nation since its founding. While the northern states gradually abolished slavery during the late 18th and early 19th centuries, the southern economy became increasingly dependent on it, particularly for cotton production. As the U.S. expanded westward, debates erupted over whether new territories should allow slavery. Compromises like the Missouri Compromise of 1820 and the Compromise of 1850 sought to maintain a fragile balance between free and slave states, but these agreements only postponed the inevitable conflict. By the 1850s, tensions reached a boiling point. The Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, which required citizens to assist in the capture of escaped slaves, angered Northerners and strengthened the abolitionist movement. The publication of Harriet Beecher Stowe's Asterisk, Uncle Tom's Cabin Asterisk, further galvanized anti-slavery sentiment. In 1854, the Kansas-Nebraska Act overturned the Missouri Compromise by allowing settlers to decide the slavery issue through popular sovereignty, leading to violent clashes in Bleeding, Kansas. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court's 1857 Dred Scott decision, which denied citizenship to African Americans and upheld the rights of slaveholders, deepened the national divide. The election of Abraham Lincoln as president in 1860 was the final catalyst for secession. Lincoln, representing the anti-slavery Republican Party, vowed to prevent the spread of slavery but assured Southerners he would not interfere with it where it already existed. Nevertheless, Southern leaders viewed his election as a threat to their way of life. South Carolina was the first state to secede in December 1860, followed by 10 others, forming the Confederate States of America under President Jefferson Davis. The war began in April 1861 when Confederate forces fired on Fort Sumter in Charleston Harbor, prompting Lincoln to call for volunteers to suppress the rebellion. Initially, both sides believed the conflict would be short-lived. However, the first Battle of Bull Run in Manassas in July 1861 shattered these illusions, as Confederate forces won a surprising victory. The war quickly escalated into a prolonged and devastating struggle. The Union, with its larger population, greater industrial capacity, and extensive railroad network, had significant advantages. The Confederacy, however, benefited from strong military leadership, including generals like Robert E. Lee and Thomas "Stonewall" Jackson, and the advantage of fighting on familiar terrain. The South hoped to secure foreign recognition and support, particularly from Britain and France, by leveraging its cotton exports, but this strategy ultimately failed. Early in the war, the Union struggled to achieve decisive victories. However, 1862 marked a turning point with battles like Antietam, the bloodiest single day in American history. Although technically inconclusive, Antietam gave Lincoln the confidence to issue the Emancipation Proclamation in January 1863, which declared all slaves in Confederate-held territory free. The war's tide turned decisively in 1863. In July, the Union achieved critical victories at Gettysburg in the east and Vicksburg in the west. Gettysburg marked the furthest advance of Lee's forces into Northern territory and ended in a costly Confederate defeat. Meanwhile, the fall of Vicksburg gave the Union control of the Mississippi River, effectively splitting the Confederacy in two. These victories bolstered Northern morale and set the stage for Union General Ulysses S. Grant's aggressive campaign to defeat the South. From 1864 onward, the Union implemented a strategy of total war to break the Confederacy's will to fight. General William Tecumseh Sherman's March to the Sea devastated Georgia, targeting not only military assets but also civilian infrastructure. Grant's relentless pursuit of Lee's army in Virginia culminated in the siege of Petersburg and the fall of Richmond, the Confederate capital, in April 1865. Lee's surrender at Appomattox Courthouse on April 9, 1865, marked the effective end of the war, though sporadic fighting continued for a few weeks. The Civil War's toll was staggering. It claimed an estimated 620,000 to 750,000 lives, making it the deadliest conflict in American history. The war also left much of the South in ruins and created a massive humanitarian crisis with displaced populations and freed slaves seeking new lives. The Civil War's legacy is profound. It ended slavery in the United States, with the 13th Amendment to the Constitution formally abolishing the institution in 1865. However, the promise of racial equality remained unfulfilled as Reconstruction policies faced resistance and the rise of segregationist Jim Crow laws. Politically, the war reaffirmed the federal government's supremacy over the states, strengthening the Union. Culturally, the war shaped national identity, inspiring countless works of literature, art, and memory. The Civil War's impact continues to resonate today. It was a defining moment in the American story, forcing the nation to confront its deepest divisions and laying the foundation for ongoing struggles over civil rights, equality, and the meaning of freedom. Thanks for racing through history with us on History in a Hurry. If you enjoyed today's quick dive into the past, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a fast-paced trip through time. Please reply in the comments with ideas for our next history lesson. See you in the next one.